We're now live on YouTube, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the West Northamptonshire Licensing Committee, Interim Licensing Subcommittee. Declarations of interest from anybody, please? No? No, thank you. The first one we have is the variation of the premises license application for Abington Avenue SF Connect. Martin, this is you, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. Yes, I'll read the report, Chair.
Okay. Would you like to go ahead and start off then, please?
Okay. Sorry, Chair. Could I just interject? Sorry. Could I just confirm who's actually here for the meeting, please, on behalf of the applicants or any people who've made representations for this
Of course,
matter?
Of course. Martin should know, I think.
Yeah, we should have Mr. Robert Botkai from a solicitor on behalf of BP. His colleague Tina Vlahovic and Sugantham Sundram from BP. Goodness
me, that's a lot of names. I'm not sure.
That's what I was thinking. So it's just because this is for the decision notice to get eventually. Could you send me a rather than ask people's names now? Could you in the spelling? Could you send me a list of who was actually in attendance, please, Martin?
James, we do have on screen.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Botkai.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Botkai.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone rather than on this massive screen, so I didn't see them. That's great. Thank you very much, Chair.
Mr. Botkai, are you the only representative of the BP?
I'm representing BP this morning. Tina Vlahovic, who's also on screen, she's supporting me in case we always say in case I fall off my chair. And then Sugan will wave. Sugan's from BP and
morning, everyone.
Looks after all of BP's licenses around the country. So
at the moment we have on screen yourself, and then we have a gentleman, Mr. Sundram.
Yes. Yeah.
But we do not have a lady called Tina anywhere.
I can see her.
Right. And then we have Tina as well. But Mr. Botkai, you are going to be the principal speaker.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Right. James, is that all you need to know at the moment?
Yes, that is. Thank you, Chair.
Be a good idea, perhaps, if we introduce ourselves then. My name is Penny Flavel. I'm the chair of the current licensing committee. Tony, do you want to then follow on?
Yes, Councillor Tony Ansell, the deputy chair of the licensing committee.
And Julie?
Councillor Julie Davenport, Delapre and Rushmere.
Thank you. And we've got Maisie, who is the Democratic member up there. And Martin, you all know, I'm sure. Right. Martin, would you like to start, please?
Yes, Chair, thank you. The purpose of this report is to consider an application for the variation of a premises licence, which is numbered PL0585 for Abington Avenue SF Connect at 175 to 181 Abington Avenue, Northampton, a petrol station forecourt shop. An application for the variation was submitted on behalf of the licence holders, who are BP Oil UK Limited, by Tina Vlahovic and at Winkworth Sherwood solicitors. The application was received by Northampton Borough Council as was on the 23rd of February 2021. The application was submitted with the intention to vary the premises licence in the following ways: to extend the sale of alcohol between the hours of 6:30 in the morning till 2300 hours in the evening, and for the consumption off premises; to remove some conditions that are currently existing at Annex 2 on the premises licence, and to include in Annex 2 some new conditions that are outlined in the application. The current relevant licensable activities and times permitted for PL 0585 are as follows: the sale of alcohol by retail for consumption off the premises, Monday to Sunday, 8 in the morning until 2300 hours. So that's what's currently permitted. The variation proposal was to extend that slightly by having them from 6:30 in the morning till 2300 hours. when that request for a full variation comes in, we have to, for a premises license or club premises certificate, the applicant must display a notice at or near the premises and serve a copy of the application onto the responsible authorities. For electronic applications, as this was, it was a requirement of us to serve all those responsible authorities, which we did. This gives responsible authorities and interested parties the opportunity to make representations in relation to the application for a period of 28 calendar days. The last date for making representations was the 23rd of March 2021. The obligatory notice was displayed on the premises as verified by licensing officers on the premises and in a local newspaper. The licensing department has received one relevant representation from a member of the public on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder. And this representation, as it was written to us, appears at Appendix C of this report, which you will find at page 18 of this report. Northamptonshire Police have considered the application and initially made a representation, but this was later withdrawn following agreement through the applicant's representatives to a number of conditions which can be seen at Appendix D, and this is on page 19 of your reports. The local authority is required to send a notice of the hearing to all interested parties and request confirmation of attendance. And we have all three of the confirmed attendees with us today. I've not had any correspondence at all since the day they sent us the initial letter from Mr. and Mrs. Kinder, despite having written to them twice, the second time inviting them to this hearing. Sorry, I was going to continue, Chair.
Yes, carry on. Yes, carry on, Martin.
There is no plan or application to vary the layout of the location at all. If representations are received, as there has been just the one, at the end of the consultation period, we must hold this hearing, and you must take steps to consider what is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, i.e. the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The steps the subcommittee can take are to grant the application in full, to reject the whole application, to reject part of the application, or to modify the conditions of the licence, excluding mandatory conditions, of course, by altering them, omitting them, or adding new conditions. And in doing so, to consider the statement of licensing policy and the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, of which Section 9 gives guidance for the determination of this application. Thank you, Chair.
Martin, thank you very much. One I couldn't find amongst my papers was Annex 2. Have you got a page number for that? Mine seem to have letters. I don't have...
Sorry, Appendix A, yes. Appendix A is on page 5, which is the Appendix A is the premises license as it stands currently. And that's been taken from obviously the public website. And then Appendix B starts on page 8, which is the actual application, obviously redacted to take out any personal information.
Yeah, my point was that my papers say Annex 2. They don't say A or B or anything. So
I beg your pardon.
That's why I just wondered which one we're talking about. Are we talking
sorry. The numbers will correspond to the letters of the alphabet, Chair.
Right, okay. So remove the conditions listed under Annex A.
Sorry, beg your pardon. Annex 2 of the licence refers to, if you look at the premises licence starting at, where are we, page 5, and if you then scroll down to page, where are we, page 7 of that,
yeah,
those conditions there is the ones that they are referring to in the application to remove and to replace them with some suggested conditions that they have put into the application. And I'll scroll down to that, which you can see at, bear with me while I get there, on page 16 and page 16 of the application of the report.
Thank you.
So they were going to want to replace those conditions in Annex 2 with those there. Having said that, they've now agreed some slightly altered conditions with the police, which you can see at Appendix D, page 19.
Fine, thank you. Can I ask my colleagues, Tony and Julie, have you followed what Martin's been saying, or do you have any questions?
I haven't read everything from page to page last night, so I am totally up to date on what's what. But yes, I mean, basically, they just want a bit more time in the evening and
In the
less
morning.
early in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Julie, are you have you followed it all as well?
Yes, I have. I just have. Can I ask a question?
Well, yes, what I was going to do, I was going to, at this stage, and I think this is Maisie, this is what we should do, is ask Mr. Botkai to put his point of view.
Yes.
Yes, James, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Mr. Botkai, would you
Yes,
like
Chair, sorry.
now we've heard from Martin, could I have what you wish to say about this?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and good morning. I first need to apologise that there may be a little bit of background noise here. I managed to evict the builders from this particular room about 20 minutes ago. The good news is I now have light, which I didn't have half an hour, sort of encroaching on just outside this room. So I'm trying to keep them a little bit quiet. Right, so this is a hearing to consider an addition of alcohol hours for the BP Marks and Spencer petrol station. We currently have 8 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. We're asking for 6:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And that is simply to match our trading hours. We're already open those hours, but we can't sell alcohol. So we have to shutter off the alcohol for that hour and a half in the morning. That's all that this application is about. We've been doing this for all of BP's petrol stations to match their hours. Now, your own policy at paragraph 2.16 does say that shops will generally be permitted to sell alcohol during the hours they intend to open. So that's your policy, and it's also the government's policy on section 182 guidance that shops should generally be allowed to match their trading hours of their alcohol hours unless there are good reasons to restrict those hours. And then you as a committee would expect some evidence to be placed before you to restrict those hours. So we did have some discussion with the police. The police took the opportunity to request an update of our conditions, which is fine. So we put the application in. We always update the conditions when we make an application. Just normally it's to go from challenge 21 to challenge 25. So we did that. The police asked for some more conditions, which we agreed, and those are in your bundle. You should have the 15 conditions which, in Appendix D, which you agreed. Now, the police were satisfied with that. If there had been no representations, then this variation would have simply been granted without a hearing. And in fact, we were told that it had been granted. I think there was some administrative error within the council, and that's why we're here today. The only objection is from an individual, and it's Appendix C. So I must stress that this hearing is called to consider the representation and really no more. And so I'd like to go through the representation line by line to respond to you on that. So this person, I don't have his or her name, and he or she is not here today to expand on their view. They're objecting for the following reasons. As a local resident, I know we already have enough antisocial behaviour in the area relating to drinking alcohol. So extending the opening hours from 6:30 to 11 doesn't make any sense. Right, so the first point there is we are already open from 6:30, so we're not extending the opening hours. In terms of antisocial behaviour, we don't have particular problems at this location, and your expert on crime and disorder is the police licensing officer, and that's made quite clear in the government guidance that the police are your expert on crime and disorder. The police are not sitting on the fence on this one. They have looked at it and they are satisfied. So the police are satisfied with the application. The next paragraph is that police and security resources are already understaffed and overstretched So this would make a bad situation worse. We don't believe it will make any impact at all to have the whole of the shop open for that extra hour and a half, and the police are satisfied with the conditions which have been agreed. So the police don't believe that they're going to be understaffed or overstretched. So without evidence from this particular resident that he has special information about police resourcing, I would suggest that there is no evidence to support this. The next reason, as this has a petrol forecourt and we know drinking and driving do not mix, so this could be seen as encouraging this. I can talk to you at some length about alcohol in petrol stations. I've personally been involved in applications for petrol stations since, I know I don't look old enough, but it was actually December 1994 was my first application. I've done quite a few in the Northampton area because BP have a number of their stores in your area. There is no evidence whatsoever that an off license in a petrol station has any impact whatsoever on drink drive, none whatsoever. And so without evidence, I would suggest again that this is not a relevant representation as such. So that's really it. That's all that we have from the objector. That's why the hearing is here today. Your policy, paragraph 2.14, you state that in considering licensing hours, this licensing authority will place significant emphasis on the individual merits of the application. In addition, the views of the police and other agencies will be important in this consideration. There's no objection from the police, no objection from the licensing authority, environmental health, planning, public health, or any of the other, none of your agencies are objecting to this application. Paragraph 2.15, you recognise that the desire to provide customers with greater choice and flexibility in applications. And then I already mentioned, very importantly, paragraph 2.16, that shops will generally be permitted to sell alcohol during the hours that they wish to trade. So we are firmly within your policy, and we're firmly within the government's policy. There is nothing in the representation in terms of evidence that would support a refusal. Why does BP want this extra time? It's not about selling lots of alcohol. They're not going to be selling lots of alcohol between 6:30 and 8, probably not enough to justify my fee this morning. But it's more about the management of the premises. So when they open at 6:30, they want to be able to open the whole of the premises and not to have the concern of shuttering off the alcohol sections. That really is it. I've tried to keep it brief. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm somewhat sorry that you've had to be called today to the trouble of a hearing, because we did believe that this is one that could have been dealt with under delegated authority, but the system is the system, and we're here now, and thank you very much for giving us this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just ask my colleagues if they have any questions. Tony, have you got any questions of Mr. Bokkai?
No questions, no.
Julie?
No, not really. No, I think they have been answered as to why they wanted this extension in the morning. I am curious as to whether BP do have requests at that time of the morning for alcohol sales.
There can be some, and not everybody drinks the alcohol that they buy at a particular time. There are lots of stores that open at 6 o'clock in the morning. You can purchase. You don't have to consume immediately. I certainly don't. If I buy alcohol, I take it home, and it can sit in the cupboard for months. So there will be some requests, but not a great deal. They won't be selling a great deal of alcohol between 6:30 in the morning and 8 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is that all, Julie? I have no questions. Martin, have you got anything else to say?
No, other than unfortunately, we had to have this hearing. We couldn't make a delegated decision on it. It was a relevant representation, albeit not with very much evidence. But certainly, we had to come before you today for you to decide.
Yes, thank you very much. James, we need to talk to you. Maisie, can we have, unless James, you're allowed, you can speak in front of the applicants. Otherwise, I think we need to have a quick discussion without the applicants being with us.
Yes, I think that the latter is more appropriate.
Maisie, can you just do that for us, please? Thank you. You could take them out, if you could take the applicants out.